The ukulele that I'm making requires frets to either be pressed in or hammered in. Hammering in requires a little more work and perhaps skill, but a hammer is cheaper than a press. Rather than pay $35 for a pretty brass fretting hammer, I'm taking $11 in plumbing parts and a broken dead blow hammer and making my own, 'cause that's what I do. Hi, I'm Paul, and this is OpenWoodShop.com. Parts assembled, the three-jawed chuck has to be clamped onto the six-sided head first, so that the four-sided shaft can be turned to a cylinder. That way the chuck can then be clamped onto the new cylinder, and the head can then be turned to a cylinder. You can use the parts straight out of the package, but this project was a good excuse to make something on my small lathe that I almost never use. The two plumbing parts are screwed together, so you have to take care to not turn off too much material and get into the threads. Even when cleaning things up with a file, sandpaper, and buffing wheel, that possibility is always on my mind. The cavity inside the two parts lets me use some of the shot that was inside the old dead blow hammer. I don't think it really does anything, but why not? There's no reason to spend any time at all turning this part, but I've managed to spend a good part of my day making something shiny. Now for the mounting shaft. I had this piece of plastic around the shop for a while, so I turned it down to size, but the material just didn't work out. It broke fairly easily, not good for a hammer, and even drilling it caused it to melt. So it was back to the HDPE scrap bin for something really tough. The small shaft on the brass head is 1/2 inch in diameter, and it fits snugly into the 1/2 inch hole that is drilled into the end of the HDPE. A 1/8 inch hole was drilled crosswise through the hammerhead, HDPE shaft, and brass head. The brass head was tapped with 832 threads. This allows them to all be screwed tightly together. I had used the hammer when the parts were just pressure fitted, and it worked fine, but I thought that over time things might start to loosen up and something might break because, it's a hammer. To keep from damaging the frets, the brass gets dinged up pretty quickly, but if it gets too bad, I can quickly replace it with a standard $6 plumbing part right out of the package. Originally I thought about making a pretty wooden hammer to insert the brass head into, and that could still happen, but for now I got to play with a neglected lathe, recycle a broken hammer, and saved at least $25 or so. How good is that?